Hi, it's Dave and Chantel again. We just like to give you a little bit more insight into the Middle Ages. Chantel really knows a lot about the Middle Ages. She studied it quite a bit, so I'm going to let her mostly do the narration. I'll be asking some questions and sort of filling in a little bit. And this looks like an illuminated manuscript.
It is. These are two examples of illuminated manuscripts. These ones are from about the 1100s or so.
So this is a copy of the Bible.
This is a copy of the Bible.
Made by monks.
Made by monks. What they would do is you would send monks from your monastery to another monastery to copy the books that they have of the Bible, because not every monastery has all of the books. But you want all of the books, and so in order to get them, you go to other monasteries and you copy them. So they would copying a book of the Bible would take many, many years. And because it's hand copied, illustrated, illuminated, the inks were all handmade, elaborately decorated.
So the illumination is the picture part, right?
Is the picture part.
Right.
And, yeah.
Yeah, and they did that because they wanted to make beautiful things. This was a holy book, and it should be beautiful.
It should. It should glorify God, and that's where we're at with both the texts and the architecture. The cathedrals are all about, that glorification. And
not the glorification of the artist.
No, it's not about the artist. It's
about God. Right, yeah.
This is from the Book of Kells. It's another illuminated manuscript, but it is much more Celtic in design. The people in Northern Europe and especially in Ireland maintained a lot more of their culture as Christianity came through. And much like we saw with the Romans, how the Romans melded the ways of other people and their own ways, we see a lot of this with the Kells, that they adopted Christianity, but they still kept their stories and their images that were important to them, and they sort of melded the two together.
So by Kells, Irish people,
Irish
right?
people.
Right, related to Celtic culture.
Yep, it's which is also kind of rooted with the Vikings as well. We see a lot of these knotwork pieces.
Yeah, like this really elaborate stuff up here.
Yes, a lot of interwoven, intricate knots, and you see a lot of intertwined dogs or snakes that are biting each other's tails, which goes back to a lot of the mythology of the Irish people. And so, like up top here, that's knot work, but if you look closely, it's animals that create those knots. The gold in this would have been like real gold leaf that was laid on the pages. The pages would be made out of vellum.
Animal skin, sheepskin, calf skin, scraped very, very thin, very difficult to do, very expensive.
Yes.
You didn't just turn it into note paper.
No.
Vellum was for very important things.
Very much so.
And until comparatively recently, a college diploma was referred to as a sheepskin.
Yes.
And that's because college diplomas were traditionally done on vellum. In fact, my mom's was one of the, I think she got her diploma from UW in 1968, and I think hers was one of the last ones on vellum.
Nice.
Handmade. Make the paper, make the ink, make the book, make everything. Make the brushes that you paint the ink with.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is one from the Lindisfarne Gospels. This is going back to about 698. Again, from Northern Europe. And we see that Celtic imagery, the knotwork, and the amazing color. I mean, these inks were made in the 600s.
Yeah.
And they look like this.
And they're so distinctive in terms of culture. You can tell, if you look at them, you can tell a Celtic northern one from a middle countries. Oh, that's a cathedral.
That is a cathedral. It's a Romanesque cathedral. This one's in France.
So Romanesque precedes Gothic.
It does.
It's one of the earliest types of cathedrals.
Correct. So we see the Roman architecture become, the basilicas and the cathedrals, and then they'll continue to evolve and grow. With Romanesque, you see much more squareness of the building.
They look blocky and heavy. Yeah.
And they have arches, but they're often these Roman arches. And,
Why are those Roman arches?
Because when we, if we look at the Roman architecture, the Romans were the ones who perfected the arch, and that's what we see in the Colosseum, and the aqueducts,
and the sort of mirroring effect, 2 by 2, and the symmetry.
Yes,
and one here, and one here, and one here, and 2 here, and 1 here, and 2 here. All this symmetrical stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you'll see here that we're just barely starting to peak the arch here.
Okay.
As they're trying to see if we can make the arch a little bit taller, as we had in the Hagia Sophia.
She can't work my mouse.
I can't work your mouse.
I have a funky ergonomic mouse that she can't use.
So this is another cathedral in Toulouse, in France. It's dated about 1080.
Is this still Romanesque?
This is Romanesque, but
we're getting a little higher.
Moving.
We're getting a little more wedding cakey.
We are.
Yeah.
We're starting to push the boundaries a little bit.
Particularly this tower here is getting there a little bit beyond Romanesque.
Yep, we're starting to push a little bit. We're in the cathedrals. We want spires. We want that reaching up toward the heavens. And that's something that we're going to do throughout the Middle Ages, is try and see if we can reach higher and higher. You can see here on the corners that they start to get kind of fat, because architecturally we're trying to provide the support.
This is a buttress.
For the outer thrust. Yes. It's a very early buttress.
It's just a thickening of the wall is all that really means, to provide support.
This is the Duomo Pisa. This is the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
This is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's a campanile.
It's a campanile.
I know that. A bell tower.
So we have the cathedral next to the bell tower. The cathedral was the main focus. You can see, as we talked about in the other video about the cathedrals, that you've got the apse at the end. It's a cross-like structure. But you can see this is early Middle Ages, or fairly early still.
Getting higher, reaching a little higher, but still blocky.
Still kind of blocky, but we're still looking kind of Greek and Roman in this. Now we move on to Saint Denis. This is early Gothic. We're pushing higher. We're frosting a little bit more. The edges of the roof get sort of these little peaks on them.
We've got a rose window.
And we're reaching higher.
Are these getting out towards flying buttresses?
We are starting to get into flying buttresses, just a little bit. At this point, we're just, the buttresses are getting fatter and fatter and fatter.
And we're like, oh my God, how much fatter can we make a buttress? What are we going to do, right?
Yeah, but if we want to go high, we need that support. And we've got tall windows and, quite exquisite.
The higher you go, the more outward pressure there is.
Yes.
Right.
And you can see that a lot of times the architecture changes in cathedrals because they took so long to build that sometimes architectural trends would change, or we would improve our technology and be able to do something new and different. And we're not going to tear down the old, we're just going to make the new better.
It takes forever to build a cathedral.
Yes.
It takes forever. And so things change. We improve technology, we learn more. And also the people who started the cathedral are dead.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Notre Dame.
This is Notre Dame. So we've got the east facade and then, the west facade and then the east.
And the east.
We're talking, so the west facade is early Middle Ages, Then the east facade is high Middle Ages, and you can see how high that spire goes.
Yeah.
And the roof, gabled roof with the peak. But we're going higher and higher, and we need some really fat buttresses. And what they decided to do is, what if you've got a buttress that's attached to another buttress, and we attach it with these long pieces connecting them. We can make the buttresses seem lighter and thinner, but they're still structurally sound.
So we get an airy feel rather than that blocky Romanesque feel.
Correct. Here's some more examples of the flying buttresses. Rounded towers. You can see that the arches are much more peaked now.
Right.
And we're
Pointier.
Getting into lots of glass. The gargoyles, which are rain spouts, and they're all unique in Notre Dame. Every gargoyle is its own.
Every brick is unique.
Yeah. I mean,
Every
everything
piece is unique. There are no two identical pieces to this thing.
Right.
Everything is handmade, hand-fitted individually.
It is. The rose window, just gorgeous.
God is light.
And you can see that how high it is inside. And so we have a lot of windows up high to let light in, because our only lighting in here is candles and sunlight.
So Notre Dame, we're talking 11 to 1200s.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking almost 1,000 years after the Hagia Sophia.
Yep.
And still you can see the influence of the Hagia Sophia here. There's
definitely.
There's still basic, higher is better, God is light, create space in light and magnitude.
Yeah. But going into one of these things, they're so majestic. They're amazing. So this one I think is St. Bravo in Ghent. So we're looking at about 1290 to 1310 for its first set of construction, and then it was added on to in the 1400s, 14 and 1500s. But you can see how tall the spires get.
Yeah.
This center portion, the center tower, that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories high.
Yeah.
But each story is not like a house story. If you
There's a person. Oh, that may be out of right. Whoops. You can't see.
Just outside of view.
Yeah.
But
this is probably 3 or 4 people high.
Easily.
Yeah.
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 And then, so this is also St. Bravo in Ghent. And you see the tall roof and these gorgeous towers.
Is that Santa?
No.
It looks like Santa.
No,
it must be an angel.
It's like a mini. It's actually a cross.
Oh, okay.
It's like
I see. But it's put all the way around. Yeah. Okay.
Like Santa.
It looks like Santa.
This is also St. Bravo, I believe.
Light and airy, and look at the supports for these windows. We want just glass. We want the minimum amount of interference with the light coming through as possible.
Yes. Look at that. And in the other video, I talk a lot about this structure, how these ribs are crossed. So it's like a pointed arch crossed with a pointed arch, crossed with a pointed arch, to get higher and higher up there. And that's the coming together of all those crosses and then built with those stone ribs for reinforcement.
One of the reasons I show the animated building of the cathedral is because you can't really, unless you see the process that they use with the wooden framework and everything, you just can't understand the magnitude of this.
It's just
We've got
amazing.
Under a minute left.
Oh, okay. So here's some more of the flat art of the time. This is St. Francis from about 1235.
These look very Byzantine, very flat, very iconic.
Right. So we're up into the 1280s right now, and you can see that we're still very, very flat.
And the babies don't look like babies; they look like miniature people.
They're mini people. They're adults just shrunk down.
And all the faces are copies of each other. We got a real problem with the human form. We're really not into.
We don't want to compete with God in terms of trying to create realism.
We're done.